only get into the subject of fear, and
Yeah.
I'm prompted to think of what you mentioned there about when we are physically not well or physically tired, then fear becomes a much more prevalent thing in our lives. And it's probably because our bodies are going, hey, look, you're not in peak condition, dude. You just need to be a bit more wary about what's going on out there. But it seems to me that
That's
that's when fear really gets a grip on me, when I'm not well or
yeah.
feeling fit or able.
That's a good point. Yes, and it's really interesting. There was a fire alarm or some sort of an alarm going off.
More alarms.
More alarms when you were talking about when you get more fear. Sometimes it's interesting. Anyway, that's just me giving it
Mm.
meaning. Uh,
But
um,
isn't that the thing about fear? We give it meaning. Let's start there because honestly, fear is
you
about
see,
what meaning we give it, right?
that is so well picked up. That's why I needed to say this. We're giving it meaning. So you could pick up on that part of it. Yeah, how much meaning we give it. I mean, it was really interesting this morning as I was thinking through, I had a quick look at the topics that we, picked for the next few weeks. And then I thought, oh, fear kept coming up. And then I realized, sort of was thinking of my mum, like she's quite a sort of anxious, fearful person in many situations, and in other situations she totally isn't. Like, and I remembered something that she shared with me when I was little. She was working in a factory, and there was something happened that was a huge discrimination to her, and it would have also resulted in her getting less pay. And I don't have to go into the details. And she was furious, and she just came back from hospital. And then she went upstairs to where the bosses are. And they were in a board meeting, and the secretary or admin who was sitting there said, "You can't go in there, they're in a board meeting." And my mom said, "That's cool. Then I have them all there sitting." That's my mom, a Leo. She's a star sign Leo. She went into the board meeting, and she said, and they look, and she said, "This is what happened. This is not right," and blah, blah, blah. The board meeting was put on hold for 10 minutes. The relevant manager, director, whatever, came downstairs with her, sorted it out. Everything was fixed. Everyone was happy, maybe not her supervisor. And life went on. And and I thought this is so interesting because this would have been or could have been a very fearful situation, and it probably did cause her
Mm.
anxiety to experience this. And then she went off like this. And then there are other opportunities where she had an opportunity to become a supervisor herself, and she would have done a great job because she really understood the work. She was fair. She had a lot of process improvements put into place already. And there was, absolute, and I remember she was preparing for it, that she might take on the supervisor role. And then she backed out in the last minute because of fear, and probably lots of other things like a lack of confidence that she can do it. And she's, maybe going to be ostracized and whatever. And she backed out. So here's a woman who can run into a board meeting. And she did the same thing when I was experiencing something at school which was discriminating. And she went right to the principal, not the teacher. No, we're going right to the top. And things got changed. And here's, and you think, wow, this is a powerful person, actually, who can induce change for the sake of fairness, and maybe
Mm.
also for not the sake of fairness, but in these examples for the sake of fairness, and then backing off when she could have had an advancement at work. And this is so relevant for so many people, where then, oh, no, 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 I can't do it. And so she never became the supervisor or team manager that she could have been.
Mm.
and she probably would have been a relatively good one. She would have at least been fair and helped people to improve and these things. And that's, and that's kind of what popped up for me regarding the topic of fear.
It's very interesting to look at that example from your mum, because she was obviously fiercely upset by what was going on, so she was having none of it.
Yeah,
So presuming that was anger
yeah,
or frustration or something like that,
yeah,
and she managed to contain herself well enough to tell the story coherently when she got into the boardroom. And there's something in that for listeners to work out too, that whilst anger might be a motivator to do something, it's best you don't walk into your superior's office in a rage or in an emotional state, because you're not
yeah,
going to communicate well. If you can go in and you can say, look, this has to be dealt with, and you can then coherently explain why. So again, check it against yourself before you do this. It's a great story
but
of courage. I get it, but could have easily gone pretty pear-shaped as well, pretty fast. If she
yes,
wasn't able to explain herself, if she wasn't justified in her actions, um, then there would have been genuine reason to be fearful. And I think that's an interesting point there, because um, when we encounter that emotive response of fear, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, is it real? We've all heard
mm,
the old acronym, false evidence appearing real.
mm,
But, too often we humans will do what your mum did in the second example, where she'll talk herself out of
yeah,
that opportunity to lead for fear of a story that she's telling herself.
yeah.
And this is where we've got to be really clear the difference between fear and danger.
That's right. There are a lot of aspects that play a role, and also anger is, and it's important to, the statement you made around anger. It is also okay to bring a healthy level of anger into a situation, not an unhealthy, out of control, but because it gives you this ammunition, no, this is not just, and this healthy level of anger can overcome your fear to actually speak up. I mean, running into a board meeting could have gone pear-shaped for many reasons, even
Yeah.
with the right reason. You don't just
Mm.
storm a board meeting.
No.
But it was a huge discrimination, and thank God they saw it and acted sort of
And
fairly upon this.
And I think it's important,
That
Jack, to realize also that you brought that to the table for discussion to show the character of the woman that you were about to say didn't take this job, right? So she's
yeah,
not
yeah,
not one to be not one to be trifled with, your mum,
and
So yeah, that shows that character. So you're not saying to everybody go and storm this boardroom. No, you're saying have the
no,
character just to have righteous indignation. Excuse me, I'm getting over a
and
cold.
also the thing is that someone can be very courageous in many
Mm,
situations or in certain situations, but then in other situations fear can take over, where you think that doesn't make sense. Here's a woman who can run into a board meeting or go to the principal and complain about something that is unjust. And then in a different situation, fear takes over. And that's, often sort of this paradox we live in. If we're fearful of certain situations, it doesn't mean that we have the same amount of fear in other situations.
mm,
And then also looking at what you said, that to investigate, is the fear that I currently experience, is it is it a real danger? Because that's what fear is about. It's alerting you to danger.
mm, mm.
Um,
And normally it's
and
triggered by a pattern.
yeah,
Like the amygdala, in our reticular activating system, we see a repeating pattern and we relate it to what's happened in the past. And
yeah,
we may have had an unfortunate experience in the past. So we immediately go, not going there again, closing down. This is not, and come out with anger or react in a way that is not positive for us. And it's important to realize that our brains are imprinted by adrenaline. And so therefore, when we in fear, if we're in fight or flight, then we're going to have more likely to store that memory than we are if we're extremely happy.
Yeah.
And extremely content with the situation. So ergo, we store more fear-driven reactions than we do happiness-driven reactions. From memory, I think it's something like 80% of our reactions are programmed through fear. So we've got to know about that. And this is when we talk about ontological responsiveness. Step back. Right? And maybe Mum did this. Maybe she did get a warning from the receptionist, didn't she? So you can't go in there. They're in a board meeting. Well, I'm going anyway. They're all there. Great. I'm glad everybody's there listening. Good. That's fantastic. And maybe she had the power or the mana, is in New Zealand term. Maori mana. It's like it's a sense of being. It's the power of who you are. You know.
I think she had that in that moment. Yeah. That's right. And when we're in these fear-triggered situations, the logical brain doesn't really function. It's like this little a toggle switch. If fear takes over, brain is not thinking because it just needs to follow a pattern to get out of the dangerous situation. When fear subsides again, brain kicks in again.
Well, we have a physiological reaction to it. You know, the blood goes to our muscles and our vital organs in order to survive the war, the battle we're about to go into. So we literally don't have the blood power in the brain. Just when you need to be thinking smart, you start thinking like a rhesus monkey. So this is why it's so important to get down to understand that not everything that you're fearful of is real. And it sometimes we're stopping ourselves from having the life that we would like to have because of some amorphous fear that is not real.
That's right.
You know, if Elton John had given into his stage fright, we would never have had Elton John. He would have remained Reginald Dwight. And he still apparently gets stage fright every time he goes on stage.
Oh, wow.
And he takes it but it's showtime. All right.
Yeah, it is. That's also, I mean, I didn't know that about Elton John, but it's amazing. A lot of performers have stage fright. And somehow they overcome it. And you're right also, as in it seems that with some people it subsides after years or so much of performing, and with some people it never does. And they still go on stage and perform.
Well, I understand from Elton's point of view, it's an edge. It just reminds him it's showtime. You don't get stale, and I think that's true. You know, you don't get stale. Whereas if you get so used to it,
that's right, and you can't be.
You're probably not in a big enough stadium. You know, go do a bigger
stadium. Yes, the thing is, you can't go on stage and be in a comfortable, relaxed state of the whole body and mind. You can't. It's not like having a conversation with a friend in a coffee shop. You're actually projecting something outwards to people. You're projecting an energy out, and you have to really physically, even though it may not seem physical, if you're singing, it is a very physical act as well to perform for 1.5 to 2 hours, and you need to be in a different state, and so you can't be just comfortable. It's so interesting.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
You go. Sorry, I was going to interrupt you there for a minute, but you go.
Well, I also have this thing sometimes, when I'm a little bit vanilla, I say vanilla as in comfortable, la la la, everything is fine, I don't think too much, I'm just in my sort of routine, and then something happens and I'm like, oh, and I think, oh, it's putting me back, like you said with Elton John, it's putting me, yeah, hey, this is life, don't just be la about it. And
Mm.
sometimes you can, you can be relaxed and lazy and bumble along, which is fine. But I also find I sometimes get this, or someone says something which could be triggering for me, let's say, and I think, oh, I didn't pay attention with this person because I
You see
was
that coming.
not, I didn't
Yeah.
see that coming. I wasn't focused enough. I wasn't present enough. So then when this happens, and it may cause me a bit of an anxiety hit, I can, let it go quite quickly these days. But it reminds me, it puts me into the state, hey, watch it, Jacqueline. Focus, be present.
There's a couple of points to take out of what you said there. And firstly, I think preparation is really important for the moment. We can expand our comfort zones and we can do more things and not be fearful because we've done the homework. And we can remind ourselves, look, I'm okay up here giving this TED talk because I know what I'm talking about. I've done my homework, I've done my practices in front of the mirror, and I'm here to present. So, showtime, as Elton John says, it's your time to shine. Go shine. And that nervousness, that fear there, in the Andrea method, we talk about in Hebrew they have two words for fear. So I hope I get this right: Nora and Prasad. Nora is fear of it's exciting and things could go wrong. Something might go wrong, but you're expanding, you're pushing out. And Prasad is real danger. It's like, hey, I'm fearful. Like I get vertigo, right? And I'm quite comfortable with that because if I fell off a building, I would die. It's not irrational. It's probably a little irrational how far I go, how I feel about it. Like, I don't think I could ever get up to the 54th floor and walk over the Perspex pavement and looking down. I could do it, but my hands would be sweating. I can tell you now. I'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"Ah,"
yeah.
even now, they're sweating.
Just
So
thinking of it, yeah.
just thinking about it, right? But then that's sensible because guess what? If you fall 50 floors, you're dead. It's gone. Forget it. Right. So it's there's a reality and then there's fanciful. So yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to get to there, I've gone now. I've lost it. What was it? Practice was the practice and no, it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I can pick it might come back. I can pick up on this sort of when you're going on stage, for example, and I mean, to be honest, full disclosure here, I like being on stage. And
We
not
probably both do,
I
which is why we're here.
and for the very first time when I realized that, this can be fun, was when I was, I don't know, a young teenager, 12, 13 years old, and we did a school performance, and I was Elvis Presley imitation. So we did all sort of movie star imitations. I was Elvis Presley. I didn't have to sing, thank God, because I can't sing. But I did lip singing, and I had the gel, and the hair was in my sort of anyway, and I did the hip swing, and I got really into it. Like I really was Elton John, not Elton John, sorry,
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley, and the crowd screamed, the whole school screamed, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. I quite like that. So that doesn't mean that I don't get stage fright or, I have no concerns. And I was coached once when I was, already in the corporate world. I was, doing presentations, and I quite like giving presentations, but I was always concerned. I had this concern, will I connect to the audience? That was my concern. And sometimes that was noticeable because then I was taken over by my concern. So when I did get the coaching, I was coached along the ways which freed me up totally. I'm too focused on myself. I'm there presenting for the people who sit there. So I was only concerned about myself. I said, and then we worked out, I don't have to concern myself in as such whether people connect with me or not. Some people will and some people won't. Some people never will connect to me. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. All I have to be focused on being authentically me and do what I'm supposed to do, what I want to do, and focus on the people. The thing is, for me, this was huge freedom, because from that moment, I never concerned myself again, will they connect with me?
Yeah.
Because this is focusing on myself. No, I was focusing on them. This is what I want to do, to be authentically myself. And some people might get confused, and maybe I'm not perfect, and maybe I say something that's confusing someone, which, just a few weeks ago there was someone I took them through an exercise, and this person was confused. And then I unraveled the confusion. So rather than focusing on myself, I focused on the audience. And it also gave me this freedom. I just only, what I have to do is be myself, do what I want to do and what I'm supposed to do in that moment. That's it for me.
Yeah. See, one of the biggest fears we all have is fear of what other people will think. When in reality, it's none of our business.
It's also good. It's not
So
of our
what can we do?
business.
What can we do about it?
Who
It's none of
cares?
our business. Like it,
That's
and really caring about what other people think of you based on your assumptions is crazy when you think about it.
just
Because
crazy.
you
You
could
don't
be very
know.
well wrong. Yeah, that's right. And here you are limiting what you will do, limiting your actions, limiting your thoughts because you're fearful of what somebody else might think. That's not smart. That's not smart. So my recommendation is, like Richard Branson motto, screw it, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you get, like we talk about, people think that life works on, well, I'm told, ready, aim, fire, we're told, right? Well, it's not the way it really works in artillery. It's ready, fire, aim. And why is it that? Well, because they know that the first shells they send out are either going to go long or short. It's very rare. They'll be absolutely perfect. But field observation, then they adjust the sights. So it's ready, fire, aim, ready, aim, fire. But the first one is ready, aim, fire. Ready, fire, aim. So,
I
you've
get
got to
it,
be
yeah.
field,
And then
having
you
the real
adjust.
experience, and then you adjust, and then you learn. This is the old story that the road to yes is paved with no's. The road to success is paved with failure.
Yeah.
When we talk paving, we're talking hundreds of paving stones, and it might be miles long or kilometers long, and at the end of it,
And
you'll find success. So if
yeah,
you're fearful of making mistakes, goodness me, where does that leave you?
it is it this will cause a nightmare. This first thinking what other assuming or thinking what other people might think. Yeah, well, you don't know. And I love your comment, it's none of your business. Let them think whatever. I mean, you actually
Mm.
don't know.
No,
And then sort of this yes, we do have a fear of failing, but it's the failing or succeeding is a feedback loop. It gives you information. If you make a
right.
decision and it's not the correct or it's not the best possible decision, you get feedback straight away because you've implemented it. Then okay, like you did with the firing.
Yeah,
You just go make the first step, find out what's happening, you get feedback. Oh, it's not quite working, I need to make an adjustment here. Go out again and
mm.
make another adjustment. Go out again.
But if you
And
spend your
it's
whole life in fairyland, where you
yeah.
think it's going to be like this, oh no, now I think it's going to be. You don't know. Get out there and do it.
And yeah, I
Find,
mean, it is it's And the thing is, you can also learn to enjoy this process rather than being so reluctant about it. I
Yes.
mean, my daughter was here yesterday, and we looked at my little studio, which, it's I'm sitting here all day. Never mind the rest of the apartment. I'm sitting in this small room, and it's all set up now also for podcasting. I have two nice chairs in here on the other side. So if I turn the camera around, it's a podcasting scenario. So it looks really cozy and cool, and everyone sees this, and I have nice lighting and, whatever. But the thing is, it took me ages to get to this point.
Mm.
Just even finding, the right background, the right wall
Yeah, we
tapestry, and the
get 10
lighting.
out of 10 for that.
Yeah, I mean, how long this took me, and I haven't found anything better yet. So this was
Mm.
worth its money. But how to sort of put everything up, how to learn about the lighting, what I'm wearing, how am I projecting my energy. I mean, you should have seen my first videos. I mean, some of them are still on YouTube. I'm still thinking, should I just remove them because they're a little bit pathetic? But they're not. I just, went out there, and then I did it again, and I did it again. And 10 times I was ready to give up on this whole podcasting, YouTubing, Instagram, and now I'm set up. Now it's running smoothly.
Mm.
Um, and
I want to say something about that. See, you're passing judgment on yourself. And we do that all the time. We pass judgment on ourselves and we say, this isn't good enough, and this
this
isn't, or I can't do this, or I'll never make it. That's fear getting control. That's fear getting control. So, I think we have to be really careful before we pass judgment on ourselves or anybody else. It's best to live in a judgment-free zone. If people want to pass judgment on you, then that will happen. And as you grow in your journey through your career, and as you get to more senior positions or become a more better known public person, people are going to criticize you. They are going to say nasty things about you. It will happen. But you give a choice. You either then buy into that story, or you write your own story and you say, am I satisfied with my behavior? Am I satisfied with what I've done? Am I proud of myself for my work?
yeah.
I am that, then it doesn't really matter what anybody else says, does it?
Yeah, and it's also important to sort of learn this resilience and persistence and courage. And I think this is empowering to continue while maybe others have given you nasty feedback or said something awful that wasn't right and wasn't fair or was just envious. And and you just think, no, I'm standing up for myself and I'm doing this. And yes, I know maybe now I'm not perfect, but I'm doing this and I will
Mm.
be. Um, and and that's empowering to do that. Caving in then what others say, who cares about the others, unless it's a really constructive, well-meant feedback,
Mm.
um, it's not empowering. It's
No, that's
zapping
right.
your power away. You do not feel good.
Yeah.
I bet my mom has felt really good after she ran into the board meeting, which I'm not recommending for everyone to do, and they supported her. And I'm sure this was a really good day for her. She probably felt very empowered, but she empowered herself.
And the
She
converse of that is, how did she go when she didn't take the supervisor's job and somebody
mm,
got the job, and then she's left having to take orders from
from
someone who doesn't
someone.
really know what they're doing?
Exactly, exactly, and exactly. That is
Mm.
not empowering.
Mm.
That is fostering resentment and dissatisfaction and not,
So you don't want to
mm.
be at the effect of fear. And Jacqueline, I'm going to say, leave your old YouTube videos up there. There's a few of me that are less than flattering as well. But having said that, you've just given an example of someone who's willing to sit there and be vulnerable. You've just sent listeners off to go search your other ones so they can see the dreadful ones of you. And but
They
then it's
might get a
inspiring.
lot of views now.
But yeah, they might get some views now. But the thing is that is now also that you are now at this stage. You're at a higher standard. And that's what
Yeah.
happens. Iteration. We humans learn everything by iteration and repetition. We learned how to talk by repetition. Say mum, 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 mum. Oh, I was that hard out getting dad, 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 dad. You know.
Apparently they say dead first. Dead, dead.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I think it's pick and mix.
Oh,
I
who
tell you
cares?
one. I tell you one of my children. Their first word was no, which just tells you
Yeah,
something.
actually, that's funny. No.
No, terrible parent that I am. But anyway,
Um,
no, but we learn everything by repetition. So if we're going to allow fear to get in the way of us repeating the experiment, we are going to let fear get in the way of our growth. You couldn't learn to walk if you were scared of it, if you're
yeah.
fearful
I
of
mean,
falling on your butt. But as a child, you don't care. You go, I want to be
and
like mum and
you
dad.
just, that's right. And when you observe this is falling over and over and over again. And, I mean, the amount of trial I've watched my daughter do when she, started to walk. Oh, but there was such a persistence that
Mm,
she wanted to learn it. And then later, when she wanted to do inline skating, that's the same thing. She just did not give up and could keep going until she finally worked it out without
yeah.
falling.
Riding a bike, driving a car, doing Instagram. We learn by repetition,
Yeah,
trial and,
yeah,
and error.
yeah,
So we have to be really careful about the stories we're telling ourselves around fear, what we can and cannot do. I mean, I think it's more valid to say, look, I may not be able to do this. I may not be good at it, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to have a crack because it matters to me. And I think that's another part here in terms of dealing with fear. Um, you wonder how is it that people find the courage to do acts of bravery that win them um, recognition. Now, sometimes people say, "Well, what else would a civilized person do?" It
yeah,
was just who they are. They happen to be there in the moment, and they say, "Well, I'm no hero. I just did what had to be done." On other cases, it's conscious thought that says, "Okay." And I think this is within the real leaders. Is my view. Real leaders are ones who are prepared to put themselves out there and take risks on behalf of the troops, take the decisions, be willing to be wrong, be willing to be um, out of line, but be first ones over the top, to use a military analogy. If you're going to demand your troops run into the fire, enemy fire, you lead them. You get up from the front and you go. How do you find that courage? Well,
yeah.
it has to mean enough to you. You have to,
It's not like
why are
focusing
you doing
only
that?
on your own concerns. You need to be dedicated to something that's bigger than you, other people, helping the other person in that moment.
Mm,
Even, when we say, oh, I just happen to have been there, it still is, the focus is on helping the other person, and the focus
yeah.
was, oh my God, what if I get it wrong? No, especially in these sort of accident type of situations, people just often just react. There's no minute, no second spent on focusing, oh my God, what if I get it wrong? No, we do whatever we can to help.
Mm,
Um, and and fear is also, I mean, it's really important, as you said, to distinguish what is an actual dangerous situation where fear is appropriate and it keeps you focused, and keeps
mm,
your body sort of mobilized to do whatever needs to be done. And when is it something, that is a story that is triggered from the past, That's a pattern that just keeps coming up with my mom, who then actually didn't take the supervisor role.
Mm.
That was, you could say, not a rational, it wasn't a rational fear. She had everything that was needed to become a good supervisor, but then she didn't.
And this puts me in mind of our discussion last week about intuition, where we talked about SWAT teams.
Mm,
Because, the adrenaline must be running when those guys and girls are out there and they're in
mm,
a very dangerous situation. And yet they are not a perfect example of not allowing fear to overcome. They know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
dangerous. They also know they have the training, and they know it's their job to take this dangerous situation and calm it down.
yeah,
And
yeah.
for whatever reason, they're there and capable of doing it. Maybe they enjoy that. Maybe they adrenaline rush. Maybe they just feel that they're duty bound, given their
Mm,
skill and who they are, to make the world a better place. And this is their way of doing it.
yeah, yeah.
But it's that bigger, greater cause that I'm looking at and saying, if you have the training and you have the knowledge, you put the work in, there's no need to be fearful. If you look and go, oh, well, I want to achieve this, but I'm worried about this, and that, and fearful of not being able to do that. Well, do something about that. Go get the boss
And
and say, hey, I'd like this training or that training, or go get it yourself.
and
Don't.
and also take small steps. You can take small
Hmm.
steps. You don't have to do the big thing, and get used to certain different or maybe more uncomfortable situations, um, and just get it started in a way that's also workable. You don't have to, if you have stage fright, for example, as we spoke about stage fright, your first presentation, you probably don't want to talk to a group of 2,000 people. Maybe you want to start with 10 people, get
Yeah.
your first presentation out in a more comfortable space, and then kind of expand and
Hmm.
grow into an audience of 2,000 people. Um,
I think one other
yeah,
thing also I'd like our listeners to understand is that they are unique beings. They are unique. They are very special. They have something that the rest of the world needs, else they wouldn't be here. Um, the same is true of every single person on the planet, by the way. And, we in the West get a heck of a lot easier run of it than many, many, many other people on this planet. And so if we find ourselves in the privileged position of being able to do something to make the world a better place, then it's a really good idea to have that as a gratitude thought that, hey, I'm glad I'm here. How can I give back? If you find that way of giving back, that becomes a hugely powerful why you would do something. Why
yeah,
would I go and do this presentation? Why am I going outside of my comfort zone? Why are Jack and I here? I mean, we're all and truly over the hill, but it matters to us to help other people up the hill, and it matters to us to make a difference in the
it
world. And the
does.
best way we can do that is share our experience. I mean, I'd just be just as happy in my garden right now, but
Mm.
here I am
Yeah, that's
because it
right.
matters.
Fun. And you've led into the next week's topic, which I've listened to, was gratitude, which which I thought,
I
well,
don't even deliberate.
let's do that next week. Let's talk
Yeah,
about gratitude. Yeah,
cool.
very well spoken. And I think that's brought us to the end of today's session. You've wrapped it up
Okay.
really nicely.
And don't forget,
And
people want us to talk about a particular topic, send it in to us. We'll put it in the comments
yeah,
below and we'll pull it
yeah.
up and we'll have a chat about it. Cheers. See you next
Okay,
week.
good. See you next time.